I'm sitting here right now at the Kaisel with my friend Rav Yeshua, and he told me his difficult sewing that he has in life. And the truth is that almost every single day I hear of people who had difficult nisyonos in life, and I really feel for them. I empathize with them, and I shed a tear with them. And he brought out an important point, which I want to say today, which perhaps I've hinted at that before, but I don't know if I ever spoke it out clearly enough. A lot of these Amunah Shirim, you hear about a crazy situation, and this happened, and that happened, and in the end it all worked out good. A guy forgets his tefillin on the plane, and in the airport, and he has to get off, and he's so upset, he misses his flight, and then it's 9/11, and the plane blows up, and he's saved. A lot of these shirim always have a happy ending, but the truth is, in real life, not every story has a happy ending, and happy as we define it, right? So we have to get used to the idea, as I've spoken about this many times, is that the pasuk says, Hashem's tfuna is without any limits. Hashem's IQ is infinite, and his understanding is infinite. And therefore, I always use the example, if an ant would walk right now by my computer and try to understand what's going on, he would have a very, very difficult time processing what is this guy doing here with a computer trying to record a share. It's very difficult for him. As difficult it is for an ant to understand computer, it's much more difficult for us to understand Hashem's ways, because at least the answer to the computer, we could say an ant's IQ is 0.00001, let's say, vis-a-vis a person whose IQ is much higher. But Hashem, vis-a-vis us, is infinite, right? His tune is infinite, and therefore his ways are way, way beyond our understanding. And Hashem purposely gives us nisyonos, which are very, very difficult, and sometimes we'll never understand them in our lifetime. Because our job in this world is to see the light hidden in the darkness. As I say many times in the Zohar, right? The Lashon of the Zohar is, right, that the more darkness there is, the more difficult it is, the more challenging it is, the more light is buried underneath the situation. And as the Zohar says, Klipa Kademus Lepri, the infinite light, the very, very bright light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is buried under a very, very great darkness. And therefore we may never even get through the peel in our lifetime. We may not see it. But on the other hand, right, ligmor, right? Our job in this world is to search and to try to find as much as possible the good buried in the darkness. And for example, I'll give you a good example. My series of books, 5 books of Praying with Joy, which Baruch Hashem helped many, many people, right? That was named after a young woman who passed away very young, right? The husband and his wife, they're married maybe a little bit over a year, Mrs. Joy Rachtwager, and it was very tragic. It was very tragic. Everybody, I maybe met her once briefly in my life, but everybody who knew her said she was an incredible person who did incredible things. So how could she die so young? And the answer is we don't know. Anyone who says they know is a tipish, right? As Rav Leff says, right? There's no Nevuah today is only Shotim and Getanim, and he said, I'm not a Katan, and I hope I'm not a Shotim. Right? So we can't say why, but we can say, look, some good came out from that situation. Does that mean that we understand it? No. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu uses the darkness to bring the light. HaKadosh Baruch Hu uses the nisyonos of life. And we all know that when difficult things happen, that's really an impetus for a lot of people to make changes. We know the Sefer Chai Adam came about. It's called Chai Adam, the life of a person, because he and his family were almost killed. We know the Pnei Yeshua came about because of near-death experiences. My own svarim that I've written, my first Sefer Mizmor Soda, was written when I was run over by a car and pronounced dead afterwards. So a lot, we can't say we have answers, but at least we can say we have questions. And the questions are an impetus for us to go much, much further and to dig deeper. And we're allowed to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're allowed to say to Hashem, I don't understand, and I'm in pain. And why did this happen? Right? Why did this happen? And the truth is, the more we look, the more we'll find answers. But as I said many times from Moshe Feinstein, right? Moshe Feinstein asks Yosef Atzadik, when he was thrown into the pit, and then his brothers tried to kill him. Right? and instead he was sold to Ishmaelim, and they had perfume instead of tar. So asked Rav Moshe, is this a consolation? And the answer, says Rav Moshe, no, but it was a sign. There's always a sign if you look for it. Just like a painting has on the bottom a little signature. There's always a sign that this is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if we look and we see that sign, then that's a nechama. That's the beginning of a nechama to see. As Rabbi Kiva, when he was watching the foxes come out of the Kodesh HaKadoshim and laughed, and his friends asked him, "How could you laugh?" He said, "How could you cry?" So he said, "This is the beginning of the Shua. Since the first nevuah took place, the second will take place." They said, "Akiva nechamtani, Akiva nechamtani." They said it twice. Why did they say it twice? Because the first one was to take away the pain, and the second one is to show that there's even some good in it. The more we dig deeper into Hashem's ways, which are infinite, the more we'll see the light, and the more we can access the light. And even if there's tremendous, tremendous darkness and pain and suffering, and there is, with so many people are going through such hard times, and I have the greatest empathy and tears for them. But if you look deep and you take the time to remove the peel and to ask and to search and to dive into Hashem, and even sometimes to scream out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please help me in my pain. David HaMelech was the quintessential Rebbe for all those who suffer, right? And he says, "Hotziyani masker nafshi lodas hashmecha." Remove me from the fetters of myself, so I could thank you. And what are the fetters of ourselves? The fetters of ourselves are those mental blocks that we place on ourselves because we don't understand Hashem's ways. And again, remember the ant to the computer. We'll never completely understand Hashem's ways. David HaMelech says, "Hotzia mi masker nafshi," remove me from the fetters of myself, lodas hashmecha, and then I'll be able to thank you, right? And thanking Hashem when things look bad. We have to thank Hashem at all times, even when things look terrible, even when it looks bleak and dark. We have to realize that according to as the Zohar says, according to the amount of darkness, that's the amount of light that's hidden in there. And from the deepest, deepest darkness, we can access the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that He hides behind the darkness. Hashem should give us the koyach. He should give us the strength, and He should give us the inner strength and the outer strength. He should give us the determination and the will and the persistence to be able to keep going, even when it seems so dark, right? We hear so many stories about the Holocaust. I just heard the other day from my friend Daniel Gladstein. He said a story about his grandfather, right? How he was in the Holocaust and he was davening and he was smashed with a club and knocked unconscious. And a few hours later he woke up, and as soon as he woke up, he continued in Shimon Esrei, where he's from. This is a lesson for all of us. The Klal Yisrael is an Am Kshei Orif. They have a deep, deep strength buried within them, right? And even if we get knocked out with a club, we could still keep going. Hashem wants us to bring out that deep, deep inner strength and to thank Him and to use it to come closer and closer to Him. Hashem should give us the call to do this. Amen. Kain Tiratzon.